It's 5 a.m. Schrodinger offers us a koan. We all like to think we have some unique thought, but this is one of mine. If I was to give a TED Talk, this would be my TED Talk. It's like an anti-TED Talk. I would call it Schrodinger's Koan. And it's, to me, something that I kind of maybe grokked, and I spent a few years in amazement that it wasn't more widely discussed, but perhaps it is. I just, I'm not that serious or thorough a student of this, but it seems to be a very simple intuition that, Schrodinger got through rigorous physics and mathematics, and the Buddha got through rigorous meditation. And the Buddha arrived at a fundamental physical understanding of the nature of reality, what we would call ontology, perhaps. And it's often ignored in Buddhism is considered to be just a happiness form of therapy so we can all acquire happiness after we acquire all our material possessions. Happiness being the final one. And it's true, the Buddha claimed, he's just talking about suffering and the ending of suffering. But yet there's many physical claims scattered throughout, and the Zen tradition likes to make many physical claims. Suzuki Roshi's famous quote relates to your intellectualization is changing the physical reality of the thing you are intellectualizing. He has a very, if you Google Suzuki Roshi quotes, you will see that one show up in a much more succinct form. But craving is at the root of phenomenal existence. And if that's a physical claim, it should show up in physics. Yet physics is consistent with the non-existence of consciousness, except when it comes to interpretations of the quantum measurement phenomena. This is at least 100 years old by now. And what's unique about it is, a physicist would say, I don't care about interpretations. Isaac Newton was confronted with this on his gravity theory. People were asking him, you're hypothesizing gravity. What is gravity? And it's, what really is it? And he would say, hypothesis non fingo. I make no hypotheses. So the interpretation of gravity was irrelevant to, well, he had his own view, no doubt, but he was saying you don't need to ascribe to any particular interpretation to follow the mathematics. So traditionally physics is disdains interpretations, although interpretations are meaning for us as humans, and that's why physics yields a meaningless universe. And they think that's the way it really is. That reality really is meaningless, although it's only because interpretations are irrelevant to traditional physics. And the quantum measurement problem is an interpretation, but it reveals the insight that the Buddha arrived at, that craving is at the root of phenomenal existence. And Schrodinger himself was quite, whether or not he was a mystic, he was a student of Vedanta. And if we look in Wikipedia, we can see a reference to Vedanta in his book, What is Life? It's at the end of his career. So here it says, Schrodinger stayed in Dublin until retiring in 1955. He had a lifelong interest in the Vedanta philosophy of Hinduism, which influenced his speculations at the close of What is Life, about the possibility that individual consciousness is only a manifestation of a unitary consciousness pervading the universe. So he believed in a unitary consciousness pervading the universe. It's, so any physicist who disdains the New Age quantum woo-woo of the dancing Wu-Li masters and so on has to contend with Schrodinger's belief about the individual consciousness only being a manifestation of a unitary consciousness. And indeed, Schrodinger's hypothesis of the universal wave function is quite a radical concept. And so how does craving relate to this? Anyway, craving is fundamental in Buddhism. It's tanha. And tanha is what keeps the wheel of existence, the Kala Chakra Mandala, revolving. This is the wheel of existence, and at the center are the three poisons of greed, anger, and ignorance. Craving, greed, keeping the wheel of phenomenal existence revolving. And the Buddha saw clearly in meditation the mechanism of craving, and we can see that too. Meditation is truly a microscope to see every thought arising. There's a craving to complete the thought, and to extinguish craving, we relinquish the completion of the thought, one after the other, and get to the root of the thought arising, which is coming back to the breath, is repeatedly, as thought carries us away, we are extinguishing the craving to complete this thought. Eventually, thought recedes, and the unitary consciousness manifests. And how is this shown in Schrodinger's famous cat koan? So I would call it Schrodinger's koan. What really hit me once, and it seemed so obvious, is the key to the Schrodinger paradox. After I was reading for a few years many books on this, popular science like John Gribben, physicist John Gribben, and Paul Davies and Heinz Pagels, and along with the Dancing Wu-Li books, that the heart of the Schrodinger paradox is a craving to know if the cat is alive or dead, i.e., you want to know, right? Schrodinger had the insight that a single quantum phenomena can have macroscopic effects via this mechanism of the poison being triggered in the box. But what happens to the superposition? Is it possible? So we want to know if the cat is alive or dead. We open the box, we see one way or the other. But it's possible to open the box and not want to know, and allowing the superposition to remain, which is allowing the universal wave function to remain undisturbed. This is the Shin Ming insight that the mind's essential peace is disturbed to no avail. Anyway, in less than 11 minutes, I mean, to me, so the interpretation of the Schrodinger paradox, the cat, reveals this desire to know, which the Buddha also saw at the heart of phenomena, using meditation to see each quantum thought. Thought is really quantized. Thought bubbles are quantized. So the Buddha saw this quantum process. I mean, if you think of thoughts as distinct, arising, a single phenomena, they are quantized in a way. So the Buddha saw craving at the arising of thoughts, and each thought. So the extinction of craving is the extinction of karma. The extinction of thought can only be extinguished if the entire karmic train is extinguished. So behind every thought is millennia of karma. That's why thought is so resistant to extinction. It's the entire karma behind every thought is propelling it. It's an incredible, incredible force. So this is the idea one of a few ideas where I thought, gee, I kind of know something nobody else knows. You know that feeling? Maybe Schrodinger had that feeling. So, in memory of Erwin Schrodinger.